Welcome back to Badger Outdoors. I've changed the name. I don't know why. I think it's a bit more because it's not just about wild camping, although most of it will be, but a little bit of walking, a little bit of biking and so on. Tonight I'm in a place that I consider really my local wood. It's a permission wood. I pay a bit of money to come and stay here. I found out about it I think about 2 years ago, and the family sort of call it Simon's Wood now because it belongs to Simon, and he's very graciously lets people come and stay here not throughout the whole year. Doesn't do the winter season, but sometimes he bends the rules a little bit for me so I can come and stay here through the winter. But really easy access. I don't know how many acres it is, maybe 2, 3, 4 acres, I don't know. But it's got a fence all the way around. You can bring your car into the area down there, park up. It's not very far to bring your gear, and yeah, fence all the way around so you can let the kids in, let them run around. So I've come here with my son, my brother and his son. Me and the missus have stayed here as well before, and it's just a really safe feeling place if you're not used to wild camping. There are some toilets right at the top, compost toilets, 2 of those, which are very new and are well maintained, and that's right at the top end. There's the road which you may be able to hear just down there. There's a couple of other, and you can sling your hammock where you want really in there. There is another couple of sort of little areas, but this is the main area down here, and it gets used a lot. So just as I was getting here, Simon was packing up with another guy, and they'd had a group of 17 local council people who had been here throwing axes and learning bushcraft and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, there we go. So what you've got also is there's a sort of a big tarp here, so you do have a shelter you can get into. I think Simon, he doesn't normally leave wood. I'm not going to use that. I've got my own crappy wood to burn tonight, but so if you do want to do this, and then you bring your own wood, but you've got a shelter there that you can just keep your stuff in if you really need to. A little table down there. There's another tarp. I think that's the one that I gave Simon a while back that's looking worse for wear. So quite often in the winter I just sling my hammock up under there just to give myself just a little bit of protection, just in case if it's a clear night, if it does rain a little bit. I'm set up just here. There's a fire pit in, everyone can sit around. You know, it's just a brilliant sort of communal area. And when I came here with my brother, we just had all the hammocks all the way around in a big circle around the fire. So in the video today I was going to talk about my last hammock that I've shown all the other hammocks on in other videos. They've sort of featured. I haven't done reviews or anything on them. They've just been there, and so you can see them. But this is the last one that I haven't had out on this channel, and it's the Hennessy hammock, or a Hennessy hammock. And so because the Hennessy hammock is such a broad range of different sort of hammocks, I thought, because I always found it a little bit confusing as to what's what, I thought what I'd do is just do a talk through the different Hennessy hammocks. And what I love about them is that they have the tarp built in. So if you want something that's really easy to get into, if you're a starter a beginner into hammocks, then a Hennessy hammock is a really good way to do it, because you don't have to fiddle around too much with the tarp. You can learn and play with the tarp if you want to, but it can all be built in. And I'll show you my system in a second, and then we'll just have a quick talk through the different sorts of hammocks that they've got. So stick with me. A little bit unrehearsed, but so it probably should be. Okay, so I'll just show you the hammock that I've got, and the underquilt that I've got here is, I'll show you the label. There we go, Silver 450. So it's a Polish underquilt. It's goose down, and I've got the 250 as well, which I use in the summer, but the temperature's going down a little bit now, getting into the autumn season. So I thought I'd bring this one out. So I just pull that out the way, just so you can see the hammock, and get my Corinthia back in. So there we go. Yeah, Hennessy hammocks. They basically patented laying asymmetrically in hammocks, but I think other people use the same sort of system. But they're built asymmetrically, which is why I particularly like them, because it means you get a flatter lay. What you'll notice is that the tarp itself, so I've got mine out at the moment. Clearly there's the tarp also fitted, and that is inside a mesh so that it can dry out in the rain, a mesh snake skin. And then the whole lot over both of those goes the main snake skin. Now this is the Hennessy Hammock snake skins, which as far as I'm concerned are the best. The DD Hammocks snake skin is a one big single snake skin. I find that this has got much better coverage, and for a bigger hammock it covers more, and you've got one either end rather than one big long which runs the whole length, and I kind of prefer that. So this is my sort of modification, if you like, where I've just used this extra. So this just hangs up here, and you can slacken it off and loosen it. So I'll just show you where those are fitted. If I can get this snakeskin out of the way, it's kind of attached on, but there's basically the rope which comes down, and in here there is honestly a prusik knot, and the hammock, the tarp then connects onto this rope, and this is why I imagine they've got the rope on here. And this is the other unique feature about Hennessy Hammocks is they've got these ropes, and they hold something like 1,500 or 1,800 pounds, 800 and something in that sort of region, kilograms. So they hold about 6 times the weight that the hammock is capable of taking. These ropes are 6 times the strength, if you see what I mean. And because it's a rope, it's very easy to fit these tarps on. So these are the two unique features, really. I'm not a massive fan of the rope, I've got to be honest. I kind of like all my other sorts of webbing you can come up with. However, I like this feature so much because it makes it so easy getting the tarp. It's just the tarp is there, deployed, ready to go straight away, that I've kind of kept it. The system you use, so the rope would come up normally, and these are not the straps that come with it. It comes with some thicker 2-inch straps, black ones, and the rope, you do a special knot to attach onto the tree straps. I, however, have got another system. I'll show you what this thing is, and you can probably see how it works. There's a grip here, and you literally just pull this tight, and it will strengthen the whole thing, or you can pull this and it will release it. You've got to be really careful that you tie this off here, and you make sure that this bit of rope here can't just drop out of the clasp, which I've had before and I've ended up on the floor. So before I go to bed, I always just tighten that up a little bit to make sure that that is not going to drop out of the edge there of that. I have also used descender rings on here with a carabiner. That worked reasonably well, but it was quite a heavy system, and this is a reasonably light bit of kit, and it works really well, and it's very, very simple. So I decided to keep it because it's so simple. What you also get with the Hennessy Hammocks is, and I'll just drop the rainfly down, you get a little organizer as well, with a couple of pockets, a couple of little clips on there as well. You see what I've done here on a prusik. I go into a little carabiner, and then that runs down some elastic, and elastic goes onto the inside zip pulley. So at night I just got to grab hold of this, and I can position this where I want it. I just grab hold of that, put it all closed. It's only really this hammock that I have a problem closing the zip on the far end with, which is why I put that on there, but I tend to use that on my other hammocks as well. A negative about this is the zip is only one side, and the zip is not removable, which I'm not particularly keen on. I do like the idea of being able to take off the mesh, and if you're trying to readjust, as I said before in another video, if you're trying to readjust your underquilt on the other side to the zip, you can't just unzip and go out like I can with my war bonnet. You've got to try and feel under and shuffle around and try, you know, it's just fiddly really. So yeah, right, so that's the hammock I've got. This is the Hennessy Explorer XL, because it's the Explorer. I'll come on to that in a second. Zip Deluxe, and I'll explain all these different names now, because it can be confusing if you're going to buy a Hennessy hammock which one to go for, but the range is really big compared to other hammocks. So they're a great little starter to get the right one for you. And like I say, they're really simple. So yeah, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to attend to the fire because it's looking really pathetic now. Have a little bit of beer, and then yeah, I'll talk you through the Hennessy and all the different options. What I'll do is just quickly show you the tarp. So it's a bit saggy. I don't know why it's saggy, but there we go. So if it's raining, you can get this down real quick, and there we go. And now all I've got are 2 tie outs. Okay, so once you've eventually got it all tied out, you've got pull outs on the hammock. So it's asymmetrical, but it's asymmetrical if you're left shoulder out, which I am. So if you sleep the other side, I'm not sure how this works, but anyway, so there's your pull out. I rarely use this because I don't find that it falls on my face, like the cocoon particularly. And then you've got this, and it pulls out, and I think I've just been attaching it down here somewhere. There you go. You may have some concerns by the size of the tarp. It really is just there to protect you while you're sleeping. It's not there to store, so all your kit is kept, well outside the rain. If you had a rucksack, you would have to put it directly underneath you, and you'd want a rain cover over it as well, I would suspect. So you really are just keeping yourself dry in here, but there is space, and I've done it before where I've had this a little bit higher, but I've been sat on the floor and I've just been cooking the food just down here on an alcohol burner. No problem with the rain coming down, and I've been fine. But you certainly can't get 2 people. If you think you want that extra space, then definitely go for the hex tarp. A little trick I use on all my hammocks is I've just got some yellow cordage, and that always goes on the head end. So for my underquilt, bit of yellow cordage up on here, bit of yellow cordage, and it just allows me to know where the head end is, because a lot of the hammocks that I've got, or a few of them don't have only zip up on one side. So you just want to know where your head is, so you know where you're going to be looking. Just makes it a little bit easier setting up. I didn't pay attention to this where I was setting up this evening, and so I had to switch this around. Another little thing I've done here, this is a Tesco's vegetable bag, which I've prusik up onto there, and it's tied back inside in here. And again, it's just somewhere just to chuck stuff that you don't need. It tightens itself up, but yeah, so I quite often use this one. The one you get with the hammock itself is pretty damn good, but yeah, I do quite a few of these little modifications to all my hammocks. Yeah, it just makes it a little bit more storage is always good. Another great thing about coming and staying somewhere like this when you're not really wild camping, you're kind of semi-wild camping, is that you can just bring your box with everything. You just chuck it in the car, you don't have to pack it all into a bag. I've got those big clear boxes just so you can see what you've got in there, and I just go into the garage and grab all the stuff, chuck it all in there. There's sort of just no messing around. It's all just really simple. Yeah, so if you live in the Somerset area, consider coming here. But there are loads, if you just do a little bit of digging, there are loads of semi-wild camping options that are all around the countryside. And I think there are a lot of places now which are starting to do this semi-wild camping experience, and it's great for kids, and it just really does. I mean, let's face it, when you go onto a normal campsite, you're just in a massive field, loads of people around you. You go for something like this, I don't think you pay a lot more. I've got to be honest, you don't get an electric hookup, etc. But if you're just coming in with a couple of hammocks or a small tent or something like that, you don't need an electric hookup. I think you can survive without that, and without your phone signal, although I do have a phone signal. Okay, first of all, Hennessy Hammocks is a Canadian company. It's run by a guy called Tom Hennessy. I think he's been into hammocks since 1971, so he's done quite a bit of designer hammocks and started, I think, sleeping in jungle hammocks. What's different about Hennessy Hammocks is, as you see, the Rainfly is attached onto the suspension system, Now what you can get if you ever use that is you can get sag, because as soon as you get into the hammock it sags down. The distance effectively of the ridge line of the tarp pull in, and the whole tarp sags down a little bit. And I say tarp, what I really mean is rainfly, because certainly for the standard it's a diamond shape setup. I'll show some pictures, but I would personally call it a hammock rainfly. The standard one is polyurethane. It's 70D, so it's reasonably tough. But you can get, with the ultralight systems, they sell a sil nylon version, which is 30D, and I think you might have to pay a little bit extra for that. And if you don't want to have the smaller rainfly, then you can request a hex rainfly, so bigger area, and I think you may have to pay a little bit more for that, but actually I think they did a deal quite recently where you just had to pay the same amount of money and you get that bigger rainfly. I prefer the smaller one. It's easy to manage, and I've certainly sat in pouring rain underneath the hammock cooking my dinner on an alcohol stove, and but it's just for one person. You can't get two people under there, so but it is very simple to get up. You can have this thing up in 3 minutes, really simple to get going, and you don't have to have the hardware for the suspension as I do. You can just tie a knot, in which case you can keep your weight right down. The other difference, as I said before, is that it uses rope instead of your buckles or your whoopee sling or anything like that. So that is a little bit different. You need to learn how to tie the knot if you're not going to use hardware. But it's about 10 foot long on each end, but you can, as an optional extra, and I think for free, you can get a much longer rope if you're particularly having to get across big spans of trees. And the rope, like I say, will hold 6 times the capacity, at least 6 times the capacity of the hammock itself. So a really solid system, but yeah, again, quite unique. What I'm not going to do today though is go through all the different weights and dimensions and everything. I will chuck a few out there, but look on the website. The idea is really just to show you the difference between the different hammocks. One of the biggest differences is you'll see ones on there which are called classic and those which are zip. And the zip is like mine, where you got one zip on one side, and the classic is basically you go up what is effectively a birthing canal, and they're designed for jungles, and you go up from underneath. There's some Velcro, you open up, you slide in, and you close them shut. And look online, look at other videos on those. If you go in the jungle, I would consider that certainly. If there are loads of mozzies, etc., it's a good way of just ensuring nothing gets in there with you. But I would say that almost everyone nowadays goes for the ones with the zip. They're YKK zips. It's just so much easier. That's what I personally would always go for. I don't live in the jungle. But as I said, Tom Hennessy, he started all this by sleeping in a jungle hammock. And so one of the options you'll see on the website, and I'll go through which ones have the jungle option. One of the options is the jungle hammock. So when it says jungle, what it means is it's 2 layers. And the benefit of 2 layers is that if you do have mosquitoes or anything that bites or stings or anything like that, then it's a lot harder for them to pierce up through the double layers. Second advantage is if you are having to set it up over twigs and high vegetation, then there's less chance of it going through. Also, you've got a little bit of extra protection there. And the third one is if you've got a double layer, then it means you can get a blow-up pad. Some people don't go for or don't want to spend the money on the underquilt straight away, so you can just use a regular blow-up pad and you can fit that in, and it doesn't shift around. It's much easier to sleep on. Not my preference, but so that's what you can do with the jungle hammock. What you find with the jungle hammocks is that those 2 layers are 40D, so it's 40D each. And the average really, I think, for hammocks is 70D. For a single layer hammock, you would normally get a 70D. If you go for ultralight, you're looking at 20 or 30D, and some of the really heavy stuff, you're looking at 140 or 210D. And I can talk about those in a second. But for the jungle hammocks, those are 2 layers. Each layer is 40D. The next option is a deep jungle hammock, and this has just a different material, and the different material is for the main hammock itself and also for the rainfly. And the material they use, rather than Teflon, I think it's Teflon is the normal material that Hennessy use. Instead of Teflon, it's something called nylon 66, which I think is some sort of toughened up ripstop material. They are 30D each, so it's basically tougher material for any deeper jungle, anything like that. Again, I wouldn't need that, but yeah, if you're going to use it in the jungle, then you probably go for that deep jungle option, just that tougher material to prevent anything punching through. Same weight capacity though, so I don't think you've lost anything there. Another option is the 4-season series, and like I say, I'll go through which ones go with what size hammock. 4-season hammocks, they have one layer of 40D and one layer of 30D. So basically, personally, I can see no big difference between a jungle and a 4-season. And the 4-season, it's built to fit with a particular mat. So I think when you buy the 4-season, you get a bigger the bag for the whole thing to go into that's big enough for you to fit one of their foam pads as well. So I think you get the foam pad with it if you buy the 4-season in a bigger bag, just for the winter. And I think it gets you down to, it may be -5 degrees or 5 degrees, I can't remember which one it is, but yeah, look that up online. And then there's another version of the 4-season, which is the Survivor Man, and they've teamed up with someone for that particular hammock, and it's got some features which I think are a little bit gimmicky personally. You can turn things inside out and you have an orange colour to signal people, and things which I don't think are probably necessary, but yeah, that's another option anyway, is the Survivor Man, which is part of the 4-season series or group. Ghost ship, lovely. Right, so next is the ultralight. So if you see ultralight on a Hennessy hammock, there are two different sizes of hammock which are ultralight. There's the large hammock, which is the Expedition. I'll come on to a second. That's for people up to 6 foot tall, and it will take a weight of 90 kilograms. The difference on that size, on that Expedition ultralight, you basically, by going for the ultralight rather than the standard, you save 300 grams in weight. Or you can go for the Explorer, which is the size, which is an extra large, come on to in a second. The ultralight version of that will take up to 7 foot person, and it will take 113 kilograms in weight, but importantly you will save 600 grams in the weight of the hammock itself. That's the one I probably wish I'd gone for. So if you've gone for the large, so the Expedition ultralight hammock, if you then go one step further, it will take you into the hyperlight version, which instead of a 70D material is a 30D material, and it'll only take, I think, 90 kilograms, something like that. But you save another 120 grams in the overall weight of the system on top of the ultralight savings, and that really is a really small package. Right, let's talk about those sizes now. So I've spoken about the different sort of descriptions where you can have a jungle, a deep jungle, you can have a ultralight, a hyperlight. There is one other I haven't mentioned, and that is the deluxe. So if you ever see a Hennessy hammock that says deluxe, what they mean is the material is particularly thick and it's built for the emergency services. So, you know, if you're a firefighter in America, and you know, the obvious place to obvious thing is going to be a hammock really in the trees. So, you know, that's the sort of kit you maybe take, and you want something that's a little bit tougher that you can sling in the back of your vehicle. So they're particularly thick materials. So for my hammock, for example, this is the deluxe version. If I didn't have the deluxe, if I had the standard, or the one down from that in terms of weight, it would be a 70D material, but this one is a 140D, and you can really tell it's a lot thicker. And if you went for, well, I'll talk about the extra large in a second. So there are 5 main sizes of hammock with Hennessy. The small one is the Cub, that's for kids, and I think that will take a weight of about 54 kilograms. So it's really a really short one, definitely for kids. The next one up is the Scout. That is for anyone that's up to 5'8". I think it's up to about 91 kilograms in weight it holds, and it's just over a 9-foot hammock. So if you're shorter, you can maybe go for that. But that's probably a teenager in that sort of range. The next one up is the large, and that's the Expedition. It's not particularly large. It's for people up to 6 foot or up to 91 kilograms. And I think Hennessy, they put a lot of safety factor into the weight limit. I think if you were 95 kilograms, I wouldn't be too concerned, if I'm really honest. Just be careful with it and don't shock load it. But yeah, so up to 6 foot, you know, and for me that would be a suitable size. It's just that I want a bit more space. And I think when you have shorter hammocks, so this one is it's a 10-foot hammock, and the snag is when you get up near the gathered end, it gets quite narrow for your head. And I think I've seen some videos where people have said it's reasonably narrow, so they go for the slightly larger one. So if I was near 6 foot, I'll probably go for the Explorer. The different sorts of Expedition that you can get are the jungle, the deep jungle. You can get a 4-season, you can get a Survivor Man, you can have a classic, you can have a zip, but there is no deluxe. So it's pretty much the full spread of options in there. You just don't have the deluxe option. What I didn't mention also is for the Expedition, you also get the ultralight and the hyperlight versions as well. And the next biggest size up is the Explorer, which is the one I've got. That's for people who are up to 7 foot in length, up to 136 kilograms in terms of weight. The hammock is I think it's about a 10 foot 10 inches or something like that, but it's just under 11 foot. It is very spacious in there. The different options there are that you can have a jungle, a deep jungle, a 4-season, you can have the Survivor Man, you can have a zip, a classic, and you can have the deluxe, and you can have an ultralight. So mine is the deluxe. It weighs about 1.6 kilograms. Now you can also get the ultralight version, and that is a 70D instead of a 140D, and instead of 1.6 kilograms, you're now down to 1 kilogram. So it's a massive saving. And if I was going to go hiking or anything else, or bikepacking, I kind of wish that I'd bought that ultralight version, just more suited to me. But this one is tough as old boots, so I've got no worries. You know, I've got lightweight options available if I need it. Okay, and finally is the big daddy, is the extra large Safari. And there's not many options with the Safari. They're all zip. There's no classic, which is up the birthing canal with the Velcro. So they're all zip based. You can have the deluxe, which is a 210D material, so a really thick material. So that's the deluxe. And you can have a jungle, which is, I think it's 2 layers of 40D a piece. These things are built for anyone up to 7 foot, and they'll take up to 136 kilograms. So there's, you know, but they're massive. They look enormous. They're for car camping, really, in my mind. So they're all the different sizes. They're all the different options that are in there. I think they're a really great hammock if you're just about to get into hammocking. You don't want too much hassle with tarps or anything like that. You just want to sling it up, 3 minutes, job done. A great, and I wouldn't say entry level, a great beginner's hammock, but you get the quality that you would hope for. You can't remove the zip. Is a little bit of a negative for me. You do have the rope. You can change the rope out, so you can go for a continuous loop if you want to. There are ways of doing that online. I think it's melted. The gathered end is melted through, and you secure the rope onto there with a particular knot. But you can put a continuous loop on there if you want to. You don't have to go for that. And the tarp option is really nice in that it's just there ready for you. Anyway, so that's the Hennessy Hammocks. I'm now going to get this fire going. The temperature's starting to drop down, and I want to get some of my lazy man food. So I hope that was of some use. And yeah, let's get some food on, get some wood going.